Vice President mandates new board of Nigerian Electricity Liability Management Company to resolve tariff shortfalls.
No going back on electronic transmission of results, INEC assures Nigeria.
Chief of Army Staff pledges to boost troops' morale through improved welfare.
What I started with is to give him befitting accommodation so that we can encourage our soldiers when they arrive to aspire to be diligent and committed and hardworking so that they can attain the enviable rank of an artisan.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall focus on tackling crude oil theft in Nigeria.
After achieving an upward review of Nigeria's crude oil production quota to 1.8 million barrels per day by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, oil and gas sector experts consider it rather embarrassing that Nigeria is currently unable to meet up with OPEC's production quota.
Indeed, Yusuf, and at the moment, Nigeria has an average crude oil production capacity of 1.4 million barrels per day, which falls 400,000 barrels short of the OPEC quota, which has now been further reviewed upwards to 1,830,000 barrels per day, despite Nigeria's shortfall.
And then government officials have attributed the country's shortfall in crude oil production to economic sabotage, ranging from crude oil theft to pipeline vandalism, illegal refining and oil bunkering activities. Jimmy?
So much so that the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timothy Silva, has described the alarming levels of crude oil theft as a national emergency that is bleeding the economy, creating dire consequences of environmental pollution and other health hazards.
Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC Limited, Mele Kyari, estimates Nigeria's loss to crude oil theft conservatively at $1.9 billion monthly. And such financial capital, Jumai, ought to liberate Nigeria from its economic woes if it makes its way into government coffers.
Indeed, and President Muhammadu Buhari himself is alarmed by the level of crude oil theft and has directed security agencies to immediately apprehend the perpetrators, especially in the Niger Delta region. In a statement last week, the president said, and I quote, "We will not allow a few criminals to have unfettered access to the nation's crude oil supply. There should be no hiding place for such criminals, and our cooperation with neighboring countries in halting these crimes is being strengthened and tightened." End of quote.
Presidential spokesman Garba Shehu, in a recent media interview, also gave indication that the Office of the National Security Advisor will soon reveal the identities of high-profile individuals who are behind crude oil theft in the country.
Well, such has been said about those financing terrorism in the country, but we'll never really get to know the perpetrators, Nadabu. And I guess it is so for security reasons, I believe.
Well, if the identities of those failing, crude oil theft will be unveiled, only time will tell us this. And it is a matter of time indeed. But who are the crude oil thieves milking the economy? What is their modus operandi, and how can the security agencies put a stop to this stagnation of economic sabotage?
Now, these are issues we will take up with our panel of guests on Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Jumma Yusuf, welcoming you to another episode of the program. It's a beautiful Monday morning, Nadabu.
Truly speaking, I'm Mr. Nadabu Usman, joining my colleague Jumma to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live as always on the network service of the NTA and from the nation's capital here in Abuja. This beautiful Monday morning, we will really serve you our complimentary segments, hot as they are, at the appropriate time. For now, here are news highlights, that is, with Comfort Ahmad. Comfort, a very good morning.
Good morning, a lovely morning to you too, Jumai. And here's the news highlights.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has inaugurated a 10-man board of the Nigerian Electricity Liability Management Company. The Vice President says this would enhance ongoing efforts to resolve liabilities relating to tariff shortfalls for distribution companies, among other challenges plaguing Nigerian's power sector. And the Vice President told members of the board to develop strategies to conclude all outstanding pre-privatization issues of the defunct Power Holding Company of Nigeria, PHCN, and resolve the tariff shortfall problems of the electricity distribution companies. Minister of Finance and Budget, National Planning, Zainab Ahmed is chairperson of the 10-man board, which also has the Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, as member. Now, improving on the welfare of officers and men of the Nigerian Army is set to be one of the cardinal objectives of the present administration, as it is poised towards providing not only state-of-the-art infrastructure, but also to boost the morale of its officers to effectively discharge their duties. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, harped on this during the inauguration of the Regiment Sergeant Major House, Nasmet Barracks, Makudi, in Benue State.
RSM and the highest office attained exposure in a unit, rather of the unit. And when I came on board, I feel that RSM should be restored to its exalted place. And what I started with is to give him a befitting accommodation so that we can encourage our soldiers when they arrive to aspire to be diligent and committed and hardworking so that they can attain the enviable rank of an RSM.
And following a tip-off that bandits invaded Tigi village in Augi local government area of Kebbi State, the police tactical teams in synergy with army and local vigilantes swung into action and neutralized one suspected bandit and recovered one AK-47 rifle. While appealing to the residents to support the police and other security agencies, Commissioner of Police, Kebbi State Police Command, CP Ahmed Magaji Kamtagora, reiterated the command's readiness and determination to secure the border communities and Kebbi State against banditry. Away from that, INEC has reacted to an online publication saying the Commission has jettisoned the electronic transmission of results and reverted to the manual process. A statement by the INEC National Commissioner for Information, Festus Okoye, says it is not correct and should be disregarded. Okoye notes that the procedure for result transmission for the 2023 general elections remains the same as witnessed in recent governorship elections in Ekiti and Osun State. INEC reassures Nigerians that the electronic transmission of result has come to stay, as it adds to the credibility and transparency of the process when citizens follow polling unit level results on the INEC result viewing portal real time on election day. And ahead of the next month's opening of the political space for the 2023 general election campaigns, young Nigerians under the ages of youths in politics want the forthcoming campaigns to be dominated by crucial issues affecting the masses rather than name calling among politicians, which they say could be divisionary. And they bared their minds at the sensitization forum for youths which held in Abuja with the theme Voter Education and the 2023 elections.
On important issue that have to do with the masses, has to do with practical capital development, do with how, if you are voted, how do we able to address the inflation that they continue to hit the country, how they address the issue of exchange rates,
security, and girls' education. We are taken for granted. Girls are not educated enough for us to go into politics also, because we also want to go into politics. We also want to protect our country. So we, as the women, we need education.
We are educating the general public not to sell their votes, because 2023 election is very important to our country. We as youth in politics, we are giving it to ourselves to make sure that vote buying does not happen in 2023 elections.
A report from Yobe State indicates that so far 14 lives were lost, while more than 200 people sustained various degrees of injuries as a result of flood disaster recorded across the state. Also, reports showed no fewer than 3,600 houses were submerged.
We prioritize evacuation first, and also victims that were sustained injuries treated and discharged free from hospitals, government-owned hospitals, and then later we ensure that people that are at most risk were evacuated to safer locations, and provide them with shelter, temporary shelters, food basket, and basic commodities.
The federal government has debunked the news making the rounds on social media that the Nigerian mission in the UAE has abandoned some stranded Nigerians in that country and is making it difficult for them to return home. In a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says, however, the Nigerian mission and the UAE authorities are working to assist more than 300 Nigerians stranded in the country for various reasons, ranging from overstay, loss of passports, lack of documentation, especially in the case of infants, to pending cases with the Emirate Police. The affected Nigerians are among nationals from other African countries in custody at the holding center of the Al-Ware Immigration Office, pending the consideration of their cases and conclusion of the legal processes by the relevant authorities before repatriation. And the statement added that Nigerian mission has been working to collate the details of the stranded Nigerians with a view to issuing emergency travel certificates to those with no means of identification. The UAE authorities, on the other hand, will process the immigration papers of those on overstay who are the majority and are required by law to pay fines of $10,000 per person, which the UAE government is willing to waive the fines for those who are unable to pay, however not without the attendant penalty of 10 years ban from the UAE. And that concludes the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria. I'll be back with Jumai and Yusuf after this break. Good morning.
It's a moment in the day when I need my me time to just unwind and indulge. Cadbury 3-in-1 hot chocolate.
Now available in 30 grams and 450 grams.
It's your time to win big with the Oral-B bumper promotion. Buy any Oral-B pack for a chance to win 1 million naira. Yes, 1 million naira. 3 winners every month. Buy any pack of Oral-B, write your name and phone number on the empty pack, submit to any of our designated centers, and stand a chance to win 1 million naira. The Oral-B bumper promotion will run from 12th of August to 12th of November 2022. Visit our social media pages for more information. Buy Oral-B today and start winning. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you aware that your perfect family may be under threat by germs? Germs can cause infectious disease. These infectious diseases are amongst the biggest killers of adults and children. Illness-causing germs are everywhere. In unclean bathing water, on your clothes, dirty surfaces, on cuts and wounds. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 capful. In your bathing water, for your laundry, for surface cleaning, for first aid, and to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Use Dettol Shore.
Join us to stop crude oil and product theft at production sites, on the pipeline, at terminals, at the depots, on vessels, at refineries. Help stop crude oil and product theft. Report infringements to www.stopcrudetheft.com. You can also validate genuine purchase at validate.stopcrudetheft.com. Please report and be rewarded. This message is from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company.
What is happening? Your eyes are red. You are armed with a machete and a gun. See, I am angry and I can't even contain it. See, my guy, calm down. Calm down. See, I have planned to go and destroy these people's businesses in the city. I have to retaliate on what they've done at our place. They cannot eat their cake and have it now, never. If you destroy their business here and they destroy that of those close to you over there, especially that your brother who sends you steady cash, how would you survive? Would your dreams be on hold? See, what you're saying is correct, but I'm still angry. The best way is to embrace peace. With peace and unity.
My people, let us embrace peace and unity. Let's learn to live as brothers and sisters for a progressive, prosperous nation. This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youth, let's build our nation together.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. On business news today, federal government inaugurates National Cocoa Management Committee with mandate to improve the living standards of cocoa farmers. Details with Alika Opalachi Ariwa.
Exporters in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire have been enjoying the living income differential introduced by the two countries as a premium on cocoa and as a tool to complement the prices of the cash crop in the international market. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Mohamed Abubakar, stated that the purpose of inaugurating the Cocoa Management Committee is to work out modalities for Nigerian cocoa farmers to start benefiting from the initiative like their counterparts in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire ports. Abubakar therefore urged NCMC to drive the cocoa sector through a pragmatic approach as the coordinating body by providing solutions to challenges affecting the value chain so as to guarantee quality, traceability, transparency, and sustainability along the cocoa value chain, and to also meet both local needs and export demands. With business news, and Vika Opalachi Ariwa.
1 minute, thanks Alika for the business package. Coming up next on the program is the newspaper review. What do we have?
Issues on the newspapers this morning, and I have the Al Jazeera newspaper, and just below the masthead we have 2023 senatorial elections, while over governors ambitious and riders cracks widen in parties. 27 former and serving governors strive for red chamber. Ganduje withdraws ambition. You find the details on page 25. 353 inmates on death row in Lagos. That's coming from the Nigerian Correctional Services. 353 inmates on death row in Lagos. And the picture message you see there, President Muhammadu Buhari with President Association of Senior Civil Servants, Dr. Tomi Etim Okon, Vice President Comrade Olabumi Fajubi, and other members during a meeting at the State House in Abuja yesterday. And by the side of the Al Jazeera, the picture story you see there, NLNG gets tax credit certificate for Bodo Road project. Details on page 13. NDLEA naps grandfather trafficking drugs to daughter. NDLEA naps grandfather trafficking drugs to daughter. You find the details on page 22. Controversy throws Tinubu's meeting with OBJ, that's former President Obasanjo. Controversy throws Tinubu's meeting with OBJ. You find the details on page 30. Gunmen kidnap 4 Reverend sisters in Imo. Gunmen kidnap 4 Reverend sisters in Imo. Details on page 23. Abia Deputy Governor set to dump PDP meets Orji Kalu. Abia Deputy Governor set to dump PDP meets Orji Kalu. You find the details on page 15. And at the bottom plate of the Al Jazeera newspaper, strike looms as doctors issue 2-week ultimatum to FG states. Strike looms as doctors issue 2-week ultimatum to FG states. You find details on page 2. Electronic transmission of results has come to stay. That's coming from INEC. You find the details on page 23. 2023, Onanuga Alake Kiamo to lead APC Media Directorate. Details on page 22. Madam?
Well, that story you just read about the grandpa, a system of the
trafficking drugs,
data. That sounds awkward, really. A person who is supposed to be, who guard against this and who will advise against it, and then try to ensure that such doesn't happen. It's now aiding and abetting drug trafficking. I don't know what's going wrong, really. Something is wrong with, our social norms and, of course, our thinking and what we're really brought up with. It seems like.
It seems like.
Yeah.
It's appalling, actually.
It's appalling, really. Very much appalling. Now, let's take a look at the Leadership newspaper and then see what we have right in there. Leadership newspaper, please. Today, this beautiful Monday morning, let's look at the page, the front page today. We have at the right under the masthead. Well, let's start from the top and say, Leadership newspapers, please. At the top of the page, above the mast plate, we have 2 stories. One is 2023 electronic transmission of results non-negotiable, says INEC. And the other one is Kaduna Assembly not planning to impeach El-Rufai, according to the speaker. Coming down on the page under the masthead, we have ExxonMobil separate deal. PNB yet to reverse official consent, experts react to PIA. ExxonMobil separate deal. PNB yet to reverse official consent, experts react on PIA. Coming down, governors reply Ned Nwoko deny using $100 million to finance elections. Governors reply Ned Nwoko deny using $100 million to finance elections. And then coming down a little bit, you can get some other stories. Let's have a look at the big story here. It's talking about constitution amendment. Says stakeholders kick as local government autonomy reaches dead end. Details of that on page 4. And riders only 10 states have passed bill. Lagos, Ekiti reject amendment and 14 others likely to follow. The second rider is bill requires approval of 24 state assemblies to become law. Now, checking it out on this left-hand side of the page, you have at leadership Twitter, you have spaces, PDP stakeholders, PDP stakeholders there, talking about Hoffo, Atiku, Wike Rift will end soon. And then Ghana kidnap 4 Catholic nuns in Imo State, UFC boxing losses, Usman vows to bounce back, Joshua in emotional want. Down the page you have a picture there, the one picture is taken over showing, Governor Bauchi State there and the Governor of Yoruba State there. And then let's now move on to the pilot and see if there is something new there. The pilot newspapers, please, and then see what exactly we have there this Monday morning. The pilot newspaper, please. Right. 2023 polls is the main story here. Electronic transmission of transmission stance. That's coming from INEC. It says INEC assures insists 2023 general elections results will be electronically transmitted. And the other writer is denies jettison electronic transmission election results. And then says electronic transmission of election results is provided in 2020 Electoral Act. And finally, Esetiku warns against manual transmission of election results in 2023. This election result thing is becoming so much of a topic now in the news because it seems as if some other people are thinking that it may not be in 2023. I don't know what their reasons are, but it seems like INEC is giving assurances that it has to be because it has been tested and trusted.
Yes, electronic transmission of result has been tested and trusted. And in cases, in Osun, in Ekiti, it has been tried. And I don't know why there's so much uproar about not being certain whether it's going to work or not. I think they need to be given the benefit of doubt here.
But all the same, we're moving now. It's electronic. We're moving. So at least steps are being taken further to improve the integrity of the votes and the ballot system in Nigeria. I think that one stands out. Still on the ballot, please, let's get back to them. This maybe 1-2 other stories here. We have 353 on death row in Lagos prison facility. I think we read that story too. The details of that on page 7. And then at the foot of the page, we have this story on PENCOM, where PENCOM assures safety of over 14.27 trillion naira pension fund assets. That's some good news, for pensioners. Their money is safe, and those retiring, and of course those who will be in the row. So that's no alarm about that. The money is safe for 14.27 trillion naira pension fund assets.
Let's talk about strike looms as doctors issue 2-week ultimatum to FG states. It's a scary situation as everywhere. What is going to happen to Nigerians if the hospitals also shut down? ASU is on strike, electricity are going on and off, and then now it is the hospitals. Our doctors are ready to go on strike.
Sometimes, Jimmy, there is a time in this country that you have 6 to 7 strategic, professions on strike. You have the NICES on strike, you have the NTA on strike, you have the ASU on strike, you have the affiliate bodies in the universities, NICES on strike. And one felt as if people was going to be let loose. And people are very apprehensive. The one good thing about this country is that no matter what happens, as much as there are, apprehensions and disasters like this, and people start feeling as if things are going to get terribly bad, solutions come. But that is not to say that this very looming strike, all right, it's a welcome development. It cannot be, because it's going to affect a lot of people talking about health.
Yes, talking about health, and Nigerians needs hospitals to survive. I don't think that strike is a solution to when you have issues with government. Do you think can't they sit down the negotiating table and try to come up with an understanding and negotiate ways to end the strike? 2 weeks. Right now, people with diseases who have to be in the hospital, who have, appointments with doctors, will be thinking in the next 2 weeks, if I cannot go to the hospital, I cannot see a doctor, what happens?
You see, Juma,
it's not for the common man.
I think there are 2 reasons here. One may likely attribute this to. It seems as if, some people use the strike thing, to survive, or as a way of life, or to cash on and get some benefits. That's one. And number 2, it seems as if maybe most likely things may not work until we go on strike. And at the end of the day, we've got to really come back to the negotiating table and then talk about it. Why can't we get there immediately as soon as possible once we have a problem?
Because the only person that suffers is the ordinary Nigerian. Well, thank you so much for the paper review. Now we'll take a break. When we return, our conversation on health theft will begin. Don't go away.
Bye, Mom.
He's going to play in this weather. Why did you let him go? He might fall ill.
And if he doesn't go out for practice, how will he win more trophies? To protect our family from illness-causing germs during the rainy season, we use Dettol soap every day.
Dettol with germ defense gives you protection. Rainy season brings a lot of germs, and Dettol soap's germ defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol Show.
I dodge am.
Obi, what exactly are you dodging?
COVID now.
You are very funny. Is this how you have been dodging every cough and sneeze?
Yes, my guy. The thing don't serious.
Have you taken your COVID-19 vaccine?
Leave that matter for Matthias. I have heard plenty things like...
Beggy, I have taken my complete dose of the vaccine, and as you can see, I am okay.
Why you come still dey wear mask?
To protect everyone from getting the virus. It's good to dey practice the protective measures as the vaccine work now to stop you from dying from the COVID-19 infection.
This your explanation makes sense.
Go and get your COVID-19 vaccine. It is available in most public health centers and some approved private hospitals.
COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. Protect yourself and loved one. Take the vaccine. Stay alive. Let us all celebrate safely and responsibly.
Obi the Dodger.
Abejo, I'm going to get vaccinated now.
This message is from the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Information, NCDC, NPHCDA, and partners.
Join us to stop crude oil and product theft at production sites, on the pipeline, at terminals, at the depots, on vessels, at refineries. Help stop crude oil and product theft. Report infringements to www.stopcrudetheft.com. You can also validate genuine purchase at validate.stopcrudetheft.com. Please report and be rewarded. This message is from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company.
Every morning is an opportunity to take your hustle to the next level. Every morning is one day closer to your ambition. So, make every morning count. Cup after cup, morning after morning. Start strong, finish strong. Nescafe.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who's a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Welcome back, and there's a prompt for our conversation, which is on tackling crude oil theft in Nigeria. Here's a background report put together by correspondent Garba Leta'ala.
Currently,
Nigeria produces 1,400,000 barrels of crude oil per day, even as the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies have increased Nigeria's output quota to 1,830,000 barrels per day, taking effect in September 2022. An average of 1,238,000 barrels per day recorded recently also indicate a 12.5% drop, according to the latest report of the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. Apparently, about 200 to 400 barrels of crude oil being lost daily to oil theft and pipeline vandalism, among other factors that are affecting the success stories in the country's oil industry. As concerns continue to grow, President Buhari has directed the military to immediately put a stop to the continued stealing of the nation's crude oil by criminals and vandals, particularly in the Niger Delta region.
Actually, it's a value chain. Our drive is to look at the rungs of the ladder, the chain within the oil and gas space. So we're not just zeroing on those who are the actual criminals, but also that those who are supporting them, those who are sponsoring them.
We cannot allow this to continue. Something has to be done. Apart from the toll it's taking on the oil industry, the toll that it is also taking on our environment, the environment that is to sustain our people is too much. Government cannot bear it.
Oil prices have stayed above $100 per barrel for months, due to several concerns, including the effects of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Nigeria, however, has not benefited much from the price increase because of inability to meet its monthly oil production quota approved by OPEC. The question still remains, who are those liable for shortchanging the nation and the government through crude oil theft over time? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will speak on the issues in a moment.
Now to discuss the topic, we have joining us via Zoom the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC Limited, Malam Mele Kyari. Thank you for joining us, Malam Mele Kyari.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. As we discuss the topic too, we shall be linking up with one of our guests too via Zoom, as such, from the United States. And then here we have the Chief Executive Officer of the Oil Data Energy Group, Emeka Ene. He is also the Board of Trustees Chairman of the Society of Petroleum Engineers in Nigeria and Chairman, Exploration and Production Coordination Committee of the International Gas Union. We thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
And also via Zoom too, we have another guest. And this is still coming from the United States. And then he is Dennis Amachwe, a retired Assistant Director of Department of State Security, DSS, and a security consultant in the oil and gas sector. Many thanks for joining us, Dennis Amachwe. Sorry for that little slip.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Thank you.
And here with us in the Abuja studio, we have the Director of Public Relations of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. He is Deputy Commandant Shola Odumosu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
And from Port Harcourt studio, we have been joined by Engineer Udengs Eradiri, a former President, Ijo Youth Council Worldwide, and former Commissioner for Youth and later Environment in Bayelsa State. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, viewers.
All right, gentlemen, welcome once again. And this morning we are talking about tackling crude oil theft in Nigeria. And I think we need to establish the framework and then say exactly what exactly is the theft all about, and then how much is being stolen from Nigeria in terms of crude oil. And I think we can get that perspective so much clearly spelled out from the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC Limited, Malam Mele Kyari. Malam Mele Kyari, please, can you start off and give us exactly show us the picture of what's really happening in the oil industry as far as stealing Nigerian oil is concerned?
I think good morning all. Thank you very much for having me at this moment. First and foremost, it is very true that we have a massive scale of infraction on our assets across the Niger Delta region currently, particularly more so in the last 6 months. These infractions range from acts of vandals to acts of crude oil thieves. And the crude oil thieves operate in 2 ways. One is to process them right in situ in what we call illegal refinery. They are not refinery really, they're just boiling pots on those locations. And some do channel those production into batches and small vessels and potentially either export them or take them to nearby location for further processing. This is happening. We have massive scale of surveillance information both on ground and on the air, and we are very convinced that the number of illegal refineries are massive, and also the connections into our pipeline network. All our major trunk pipelines have such infractions in them. They're what we call illegal connection. Those connections sometimes stretch up to 3 kilometers, and in one line alone, you can have as many as 100 to 200 of such connections in one single pipeline network. It is massive. And of course, are we helpless? Absolutely not. There's so much coordinated activities that are going on at this moment. And in the last 6 months, led by the Chief of Defense Staff, and the great work is going on. First, responding in 2 perspectives. One is by direct kinetic approach to get taking out all those illegal refineries and the connection, assisting the oil companies to pull out all the connections. As you are aware, oil companies don't have capacity to operate outside the right of way of this pipeline. And secondly, also community engagement is also necessary in the sense that absolutely the community members are most cases they are the victims of this situation. Environment is degraded. They are forced into some of these activities, not just by choice, but sometimes even by acts of vandals who coerce them into these activities. And of course, engaging the communities and working with the communities is the second framework. And thirdly, there's something we are doing around technology, having the right surveillance infrastructure, intervention infrastructure that is clearly very necessary for us to do this. Yes, it is a massive problem. It is affecting our activities. It is affecting investment in the industry. And more than anything else, at current situation, it is affecting production that we're able to take to the market. It is a huge challenge, but of course, it is not unsurmountable, and we're doing everything possible to make sure we pull this down.
With you briefly, and studies has shown that oil theft involves 5 to 20% of Nigeria's oil production, which is average to 1.4 million barrels by day. And in the first quarter of 2022, Nigeria lost $1 billion to oil theft, in the Niger Delta region. And how much, can you tell us, is the nation losing to oil theft in monetary terms and production shortfall?
Yes, thank you. It works 2 ways. One is the direct stealing of the oil and then being processed at illegal refineries and also taken out from the pipelines. What does happen is that whenever you have such massive infractions, we shut down our facilities. And therefore, this is opportunity lost, the production that could have come on the table. And that is why we are currently at the average of 1.4 million barrels. We have capacity to do up to 2.1 million barrels. You can technically say that you have lost about 700,000 barrels per day of production, but it doesn't mean 700,000 barrels is stolen. What in reality happens is that when those stealings take place, they probably lose up to 200,000 barrels per day of direct losses to thieves. And beyond this, once you have this inflation getting to a level we cannot manage, in some instances, some of the pipeline losses get up to 80% loss to 90% loss at one point. So you have no option than to shut down these facilities. So once you do this, it is also taken clearly as loss because of production that you could have ordinarily taken to the market.
Thank you so much, Melikari. We'll come back to you later on in the course of the conversation. Let's move away and rather meet Emeka Ene, the Board of Trustees Chairman of Society of Petroleum Engineers in Nigeria, and the Chairman, Exploration and Production Coordination Committee of the International Gas Union. In fact, what the Group Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of NNPC Limited said, and the story is really not good enough. It's a sad development in Nigeria's history, and looking at the losses this country is incurring from, oil theft. Now, Emeka, tell us, how so serious is this on Nigeria's economy, given the fact that we cannot even meet our, daily quota as given to us by OPEC?
Yeah, thank you very much. Just like the GMD said, it's a very serious, multifaceted problem because the spillovers go beyond just the oil stealing. Remember that there's also, apart from deferred production, where oil companies have to shut down their production, there's also a significant loss of taxes from oil, for example. So that already hits the bottom line right up front and center. In the clip you showed earlier, there's a serious environmental impact on the communities. And of course, the fact that this has gone beyond advocacy to a level of criminality, it begins to tear apart the social fabric in the communities, right? And so at the end of the day, oil service companies have a spiral effect, the ability to be able to continue to deliver service when the oil companies are not producing. Oil companies cannot pay their bills on time, and so it spills over into the rest of the economy, and it comes all the way backwards. So it is a problem, but it's also a global problem. People don't realize that oil is the largest natural resource being stolen globally. We're talking about $133 billion per year across the globe. So it is a supply chain problem, not just within Nigeria, but all across the globe. In other words, oil has to be sold to somebody for someone to benefit from. So the economic impact, when set against the challenges of what happened post-COVID, and the fact that oil prices at 100, delivering services and building new wells and fixing pipeline infrastructure now comes at a higher cost than it was before. The price of steel has doubled in the last 2 years. You find that it's even more difficult because it's hitting your top line and hitting your bottom line at the same time. So the ability to even sustain production is even challenged as a result. So it is a significant challenge from an economic point of view. And the solution has to be holistic in order to solve it and immediate to rescue the situation.
Mr. Emeka, before we go deep into this conversation, it must have started sometime. It must have started way back. Can you give us a little overview of how this oil theft began and who are those behind it?
Well, the who behind it probably is beyond my pay grade in terms of being able to establish that. But you see, this thing, you can argue that it started from the point of view of advocacy. But what you have is a moral economy that essentially an economy of entitlement. So the reason is that you have some communities in which there isn't any exposure to government agencies, for example, and pipeline infrastructure passes through there. So it started from that. It started from leaks of oil pipelines, and therefore small criminal gangs began to take advantage of it, riding on the feeling of entitlement. One interesting thing is when you drive between New Orleans in the United States and Lafayette, when you're driving through the barriers, you actually feel that you're in the Niger Delta. On the right and the left is exactly the same. But you're driving on an 8-lane highway, and therefore the infrastructure, being able to reach the people is there. So what's happening is that because many of these communities are isolated in Nigeria, this activity can go on undetected until it becomes and reaches a very high level of criminality. Second thing, of course, is that it's a supply chain that goes beyond Nigeria. So in other words, there are people who are buying illegal oil, and as a result, you have that challenge. So the moral economy of entitlement snowballed into criminality. In other words, people in the village, either by coercion or by complicity, now see that as an entitlement. And of course, the presence in the communities hits the communities in a positive manner. In other words, there's a PMS. You have money being distributed in the communities. So reading the hearts and minds of the communities has always been a challenge. And I think, like the GMD pointed out, attacking it on a multi-level point of view, not just from the kinetic approach in trying to suppress it, but from the rule of law, but also at the level of the hearts and minds of the community, because that's where it started from in the first place. It started from there, where this feeling of entitlement snowballed into criminality. And if we go back again to that, to build the trust at that level, we'll start to get some results almost immediately.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's hear from Dennis Amakwe, the retired Assistant Director of Department of State Security, DSS, and security consultant in oil and gas sector. The question was posed earlier on that who are behind this and when did it start. But the issue here is that being a very lucrative business, one would think that some high-profile people are behind it, and a lot of other community members could be coaxed, as as Emeka said, and a lot more people may want to join because of its lucrativeness. Dennis, tell us why such behavior should be, so much rampant in that part of the country, and looking at the general, benefit this oil brings to Nigeria, and above all, why a lot of people should be suffering due to such kind of practice by maybe a handful of Nigerians, talking about their number.
Okay, thank you very much. When we have to look at this, a very complicated story about this oil theft. We go all the way back to 2005. 2005, when we had militancy in the Niger Delta, and then of course it picked up in 2006, where the militancy was very, very high. By then, many people don't even realize that there was a lot of bunkering going on. And then of course you started having people stealing oil, and then of course barges were waiting outside on the shores, getting draining from the oil that are stolen from the swamps. Now all this oil were picked up, sold overseas, and then of course the militants were using it and then getting in exchange the battering for arms and ammunition, and then many people didn't say much about it. It picked up to 2009 when we got the amnesty. But when the amnesty happened, the oil bunkering started going up, although there is a less attack, militancy, because most of the warlords were taken care of by means of the amnesty. You find out that the rest of the second-tier militants were busy because they felt that they can get more money, not even depending on the money that they are getting from the amnesty program. So it started becoming an all-commerce affair, where you find out that everybody, even foreigners, Navy was arresting people, foreign ships loaded. So it's the people behind this. There are many collusions, many collusions. We've even arrested security men who are sent there to do the work, colluding, and of course people from the community who are even investing into this oil theft, because it becomes very lucrative. But the problem, like you asked, why and who are behind this? Who and why, we cannot answer at this time, but the reason is because nothing much was done about it. People were not arrested and prosecuted openly, and then of course the business continued.
The President, Muhammadu Buhari, is alarmed by the level of crude oil theft in Nigeria, and he has directed security agencies to immediately apprehend the perpetrators. Why is it so difficult to apprehend them and bring them so that they face the full wrath of the law?
Well, it is not that they could not arrest them or apprehend them. When we were talking about the problems in the northeast and even the northwest, many people didn't know that there was a big problem down in the Niger Delta. Because all the focus, even the military focus, was up in the northeast. But this oil problem was going on and ravaging the whole country. We've seen situations where we were producing 2.5 million barrels per day, reduced all the way down to 600, and after amnesty we've popped it up again. But you find out that the oil that is being stolen is a lot. We are talking about 400,000 barrels a day. So a lot of people are involved. I think if you want to know why, it is something that we either have to have a state of emergency, just like the minister had said, state of emergency on that particular area, because there are too many people that are involved in this particular game.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's come back home here in Nigeria and then move down to Port Harcourt, and then hear from Engineer Udens Iradure, former President, Joe Youth Council Worldwide, and the former Commissioner for Youth and Later Environment in Bayelsa State. Being one of those who are on the ground, and being, a youth, I would say, and looking at the prevalence of this, negative practice that affects the Nigerian economy so much, so heavy. What do you think, in your own opinion, could be the reason why this very act is being perpetrated, especially by the youth, because they are the ones in the forefront. They are the most energetic and then the most innovative, and they carry out all these things in the name of trying to make ends meet and, of course, fulfill their good fathers' wishes and promises.
Okay, first of all, let me say good morning, Nigerians, especially to the very intellectually capable guests that you have brought forward, and also the GMD. Thank God that we are here today to discuss some of these issues. The Niger Delta, the accusation is always about the youths of the Niger Delta, but you forget that this is something that is affecting the entire country. Nigeria is facing a very precarious situation in terms of leadership, in terms of economy, politics, and otherwise. And you do not expect that the Niger Delta, all of a sudden, there will be some level of sanity beyond the insanity that is affecting the entire fabric of our nation. That being said, people talk about, they can't name names. But here we are talking about Niger Delta youths. They are involved, yes. But you forget that there is a total breakdown of leadership at community levels, at local government level, at state levels. Virtually it's only the federal government that we can visibly see today. What is the role of state governments in this problem? I want to use the opportunity to thank Mr. President for the steps that he has taken so far in dealing with this issue. Recently, Tempolo was engaged, even though it isn't new, because he has always worked for the peace and security of this country, and I appreciate the fact that today he's no longer seen as an enemy, but rather a co-traveler for peace and development in the Niger Delta. The Minister for Niger Delta, for the Minister for Petroleum Resources, yes, so much kudos to him for the steps he has taken so far. While he was governor, he was very concerned because at that time, the resources of the states were dwindling as a result of the activities of young people in the Niger Delta. And so the Governor Silva, at that time, today Minister for Petroleum, took the bold step to deal with the problem. We got the amnesty to his credit, And that saw Nigeria benefit a lot from the Niger Delta till we are finding ourselves where we are today. What is the role of governors in the Niger Delta? What is the role of local governments? These facets of governance have collapsed. And therefore, the people now are in a quest for survival. Government is not doing anything at the local level or at the state level. In the states, they are only focused on the capital. What are they doing in terms of youth engagement? What are they doing to build capacity, to train our young people? Today, the young people believe that since they are not part of this business and the oil is passing their land, then they will get involved. There is a quest for survival. In fact, I can see that the GMD already understands where the problem is. Community women no longer go to farm. Young children in the communities, they don't want to go to school anymore because they have seen the kind of lifestyle that certain individuals who have been involved are living in the communities. They are all now migrating to oil business. In fact, you can't even get a speedboat now if you go to some of our water sites because those speedboats are all involved in the value chain. Banks are involved. Banks are raising money to give to people as loans to go and set up their refineries. Is it the security agents? They go and give thanksgiving when they are sent to the Niger Delta. Go and check them out. You see a lot of them building hotels and the rest. How far are we taking care of the welfare of security agents? So if you look at the problem now, you will see that it is the small we've been doing in the past, destroying our economy, corruption, and things like that have led us to where we are. Right now, there is an economic void. The refineries are not functioning. And once they are not functioning, the people will look for a way to fill that void. And that's the biggest problem that we are facing now. So even if we deploy the entire machinery of state, we deploy the structures that we have done in terms of surveillance and all that, it's only going to be scratching the surface. We need to look at our refineries. We need to start producing. Once this product is available and the people see that you can get a clean, refined product from the refineries at an affordable rate, nobody will go and patronize the forest. Again, if you look at laws in the country, there is illegal mining going on in the north as well as in the south. And then in the north, government have put those illegal miners together into cooperatives and working with them. And that was the argument we took to the president. And then the president graciously said we should go back and then see how those illegal miners in the south, in this case, oil bunkers, can also be put together in a cooperative and see how government can work out a formula to deal with it. And Senator Itainang, who was the special advisor to the president on Niger Delta, was appointed as chairman to midwife that process. Unfortunately, he resigned to go and contest election. But we had several engagements with the boys involved in these activities. And we have seen that from what they are doing, they have even developed themselves. There is a local technology they have developed. They are no longer using fire, as you could see, destroying the environment. Some of them have developed to the point where they are using generators and heat electric burners to break down the crude oil. So if we can see that kind of advancement from this crude nature and the hide and seek process, then it shows that there's capacity in the Niger Delta. Government must change its ways while we are looking at how to deal with it using the conventional process. We must begin to engage. I've heard the GMD talk about all the processes that they are putting in place. But if you don't bring the community people together, you don't engage them and see how we can formalize what they are doing in order for government to control it. And I'll give you an instance. If you take areas in the states and say these are buffer points, all those who are involved, we can now gather here. This is how we want you to do it. Just as government had announced in the past that they will be giving 1,000 barrels to these boys. You give it to them. The NNPC monitors that 1,000 barrels. They refine it. NNPC comes back to buy that. Within that process, no other person will be able to go and break or infringe on the pipelines, because you now have these people in a particular area. You control them. The residue, you go back and buy that residue and then send it to a proper system, rather than allowing the arrangement that is going on today. So I'm calling on the GMD. Let's look at it the other way. Can we put these boys together and say these are buffer areas where we can be getting directly from NNPC? That way, they will help to secure the lines. Communities know that this is their community. This is where it is done. They will no longer use fire because there is a technology. Clearly, they were in Sheraton Hotel in Abuja, where they came with their own consultants to do slides to show to government. I don't know why we are not looking at that aspect of it so that we can be able to control the arms deals that is going on. We can control even the security hide and seek they are doing, which is leading to the boys going to acquire arms and then challenging them, because truly there's a lot going on. I'm sure the GMD knows that even in the terminals where federal government goes to load, they are so organized that people are going there to load the vessels. The vessel that was arrested in Equatorial Guinea, what was he doing around government approved loading terminals? There is a lot going on. So when the boys see them steal the big one and then they go and take the small, then you use the soldiers against them. The boys say, no big gun, these people they use against us. Make we say, go carry this gun. And then you see this back and front going on. Can we look at setting an area, working with these boys, just as the president have approved? Because truly, what we are saying here is not rocket science. The president have given his nod to say that if we are going to be organizing criminals in the north to work with government in order to secure the mining environment, then we should be able to do the same, apply the same law to those in the south, which government have approved. Can we look at that so that gradually we can start dealing with the problem? But I tell you, another problem we have is the PIA. Late President Yaradua had said it was injustice to be taking oil from an area without the people, and said, let us make 10% as equity for the people. So the people know that, look, in this business, whether the oil is flowing from the north, whether they find oil in the east, west, anywhere there is oil activity, 10% equity should be given to the host community. That is what they are dragged in the National Assembly until we got to the point where, under the comfort of air conditioners, they were dilly-dallying 5%, 3%. Don't forget that the people are seeing.
Yeah, Engineer Adri will come to that. You know, all this while you've been talking about how much money can be made, how much money is being made. Can we talk about another aspect that is worrisome, and that is the environment itself, where the people live, eat, sleep? Yes, I'm still with you, Engineer Adri. Can we talk about the aspect of environmental degeneration of the environment itself? Environmentalists around the world are worried that people in that axis mostly affected by disease, poverty, and no education. Can we talk about that instead of talking about how much money is going to be made and how government is making money, state government money are getting derivation? How does it reach the ordinary man in the Niger Delta?
You know, before we came up with this idea that, look, let us work with these boys, let me explain it to you. They go and steal this product. They use fire. Sometimes it is the same crude oil they are pouring into the firewood that they are using to boil those pots. So they destroy the environment. Because of this hide and seek, the residue, they pour it into the environment. That's why we have come up with a formula to say, let us work together. The same way that illegal miners in the north were polluting the environment. There was a time that there was lead poisoning and entire communities were killed. And then government said, no, let's work together so that the residue that you use to destroy the environment, NNPC working with this structure can come and be collecting it. Once our people know that that waste that they are throwing away, they will make money out of it. They will be gathering it in drums. That way we save the environment. Now I spoke to you about technology that has been advanced locally by the people to the point where some of them don't use fire anymore. They are using generators to power heaters, and then using those heaters to boil their produce. That way,
the environment where they do that is clean and decent. Now, because NNPC will be on top of it, coordinating, the one that destroys the environment will no longer happen. The one that they go and hide to insert umbilical cords in the lines will no longer happen, because they will know that this is the buffer area where we are supposed to operate. NNPC in the morning will give us this amount. What I'm saying in essence is, once there is control by government and the people are comfortable that there is no longer going to be hide and seek, the aspect of environmental degradation will also be dealt with. It is because of the current situation where people are trying to steal. That's why we are having the massive degradation that is going on. But once you organize it, even the people themselves will isolate those cartels that are coming to buy, because it will be better to deal with government and be secure than be dealing with those who are coming to supply refineries that are now springing up all over neighboring countries around Nigeria. But above all, we need to, as a government, ensure that our refineries are functioning. Once the refineries are functioning, there will be no more incentive. We are all hoping that the Dangote will come on stream, Dangote refinery will come on stream, the Port Harcourt refinery will come on stream, Warri will come on stream. Once we do that, then you will see that we will be spending less in the engagement. But again, to the GMD, we need to do more education on the area of the PIA. The PIA have been signed into law and come into action. And communities, I know I did some engagement in some community levels and discovered that the communities don't understand truly what the PIA is bringing on the table. I made them understand that, look, in the PIA, it is what is produced from your place that you will benefit from. This 3% may look small, but it is a fact, it is better than where we are coming from. But the people need to understand the role they need to play to ensure that they benefit from the 3% in the PIA. So please, let us begin that engagement. While we are talking about the surveillance, you can see that in the past few days, over 1 million young people have been gathering in Delta State, so that we can now bring all the young people together, let them understand where the pendulum is swinging to, so we can be able to manage what is happening in the community. But I assure you that this is going to be a temporary approach, because we need on the long run to ensure that the products are available from federal government, so we can directly be able to deal with this problem. If you do a helicopter flight around the Niger Delta, you will be shocked at what is happening. And the GMD probably in one of your propaganda on this, for people to see what's happening, please, let's do a flight, video it, let the Nigerians see the magnitude of this problem. People will understand that, yes, the president understands it, he has given the go-ahead. Let us activate those institutions so we can deal with this problem.
Thank you so much, Rodri. Public Relations Officer, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Shola Odumosu. You've had them all now. We're just trying to come down to see how we'll be able to tackle this very menace in our country. And your outfit is one of those saddle responsibility of trying to, get this criminality brought down to the barest minimum, if not at best, eradicated. Sometimes, even in April or even before then, there was this, fire or disaster or, explosion, at, illegal refineries in which so many lives were lost. We have 50, 100 Imo State and River State and the rest of them. Your men were there. And of course, a lot of information were shifted out and then dished out to the public, talking about the dangers involved. But we haven't heard much about people apprehended, people prosecuted, and then ongoing issue now, the oil theft, which is a serious criminality.
Well, thank you very much. Well, for us in Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, we know that oil is the mainstay of the economy, and by implication of that is the major determinant of the economic configuration of the country. And anything that overtly or covertly affects, the economy is, especially in the oil sector, is a threat to the economy, the political, social stability, and of course the environment has been addressed earlier by the Ijaw youth leader. But in Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, the enabling act of the NSCDC allows us to maintain 24-hour surveillance over this infrastructure, especially pipelines that crisscrosses around the length and breadth of the Niger Delta. And apart from that, we also engage, in community sensitization, which of course, if it has been adhered to for the periods we had major infernos and lots of lives were lost, such occurrence will have been averted in the first place. But we are doing our best, and good enough we have a Commandant General that understands, the whole terrain. Is a security expert, and since he came on board, things have been very, very different. I can tell you that between January to July this year, we have been able to apprehend over 426 suspected vandals, and that is between January and now. But if I put it together between 2019 to date, we have been able to arrest a total of about 884 vandals, which of course, out of these numbers, about 821 are undergoing prosecution. And about 168 are already convicted. And I'd like to also tell you that even in the event of our raids, into the creeks, we discovered that there are so many illegal refineries, being undertaken everywhere in the Niger Delta, and of course, it is the resultant effect has not been very, very okay, in the sense that it causes environmental degradation, and government cannot continue to look the other way. So we were able to destroy at least about 444 illegal refineries within this axis, and we're not stopping at that. We have continued to launch, our surveillance and attack and all of that. But then there is need for us to also engage, community, especially the host communities. They also have a role to play, because since they are the host communities, majority of those people, just like we said, they are not invincible. There are people we know. There are people, the host communities, they know them. They know the incessant nature of that of vandalism. And when somebody comes to your community and decides to to drill a hole within the petroleum pipelines, a number of people are aware of those things. What are they doing about it? Have they been able to engage the stakeholders who could assuage the situation? But that is the issue. We just have to look inwards and see how best, because we continue to make inroads into Niger Delta. As a matter of fact, when President Muhammadu Buhari gave the marching order for this problem that is permeating the Niger Delta to be resolved, the Commandant General, Dr. Ahmed Abubakar Haudi, is set up the Commandant General Special Intelligence Squad. And this was last year. He set up this squad, and the essence of that is to ensure that they fight criminality to the barest minimum, and also to ensure that all the criminals that are engaging in pipeline vandalism, oil theft, and oil scooping, illegal bunkering, that they are stopped. They are not allowed to go further. And I can tell you that authoritatively, they've made a lot of tremendous achievement in this regard, and that is why that number, I tell you, between January and now, we have been able to arrest like 426. It's an astronomical figure, but of course we know that one day Nigeria will come to realize that sometimes it is not the economic gain that is most that it should be predominant in their psyche. But of course, you should look at the other negative influence negative activities that will come out of this. We're talking about environmental degradation, for instance.
Yes, before we go further on that environmental thing, the fact still remains that the Civil Defense Corps was supposed to be having that mandate to, protect these pipelines and then, try to apprehend those who tamper with them. And as you said, communities should be engaged in doing that because it is within their community that these negative activities happen. But we are yet to hear about how the Defense Corps was able to at least apprehend those who, give deafening ears to your own calls, and those who allow this to happen in their communities, and those who go into the bushes and build these pipelines. We only have these figures, and of course these things are on the rise and keep on rising. So people are getting concerned. That's why we are here this morning.
Well, let me say I'm surprised that you said you're not seeing the efforts of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, because I know quite frankly that NTA, of course, on a number of occasions have covered our assignments, and most of these activities and our feats on the field has been transmitted, in many of the Nigerian television stations and across the mainstream media. So maybe what we could say is that the issue of prosecution, if it could be openly done, because I know most of the law courts does not allow cameras. Maybe that could be an inhibition, and that is why people like you and other concerned citizens will feel that we are not doing anything. But of course we are doing a lot, and the facts are there; they are verifiable. It is something that when you even go to the courts, you will find go to the court and find out how much exploit we have made in terms of conviction, in terms of prosecution, and in terms of arrest. And of course, even as I talk today, we have been able to most of these illegal refined oil thieves. Sometimes when we engage them, they run away. Some of them take to their heels, leaving their trucks and whatever they must have gathered for that economic gain. And in this situation, when you have nobody to prosecute, we take those exhibits, which are the trucks and those things inside, and they are forfeited to government, and the money goes directly into government coffers. So how much effort can we say? Of course,
what he's trying to say here is, we talked about arresting vandals, still we are losing 200,000 barrels by day. Security agents are being accused of being involved also in oil bunkering. My question here is, how many big heads have rolled so far? Well, apart from the vandals, how many big heads have rolled and are being prosecuted now?
Now, like one of the guests said, this problem is hydra-headed, is multifaceted. It is not something that started with us, and it's not going to end, anytime soon if we don't engage all the stakeholders. It goes beyond Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. There are different facets of the economy that you have to look into. I remember you asking one of the guests, on the program about the big men that are involved in it. And he said it's not within his purview. As a matter of fact, it is not within my purview to tell you that, okay, so and so people are the big men behind it. The people we have engaged, the people we meet on the field. Don't forget, most of these criminals, this crime that they perpetrate, you won't see those big men in the creeks. Never. They are only the foot soldiers that you see. And most of these guys, they are so hardened, in their minds that no matter how you press them for information about who their sponsors are and the rest of that, you don't get to have any information from them. And you cannot begin to, when you look at the aspect of the human rights, there is a limit to how you can force information out of someone. There's a limit to how you can torture an individual without facing another angle of the law, because the human rights activists will come, at your doorstep and tell you that ABC was over, how do I put it? You know, so the situation is such that we have to look at it holistically, you know, from the point of view of the economy, from the political elites, from the security, you know, point of view. So I can only speak for Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. And I'm proud to say that the efforts of NSCDC so far, maybe peradventure this I think the number of barrels that we lose per day and the number of the amount of money we are losing every day could have been higher than that, if not for the effort of the security agencies. So we need to give applause. I know that in some cases, some people have accused security agencies of complicity, you know, of connivance and all of that. But I can't stand brief for other security agencies. I can only speak for Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. And we are doing our job the way it should be done. Even Dr. Ahmed Abubakar Howdy is a Commandant General that has zero tolerance for compromise. Once he finds out that you have compromised on your job, then he's showing you the way out. Because we have a lot of professionals, let me put it that way, because we have undergone series of training for you to know that this area you cannot compromise. In fact, with the Commandant General you can't compromise. I can tell you that.
Okay, thank you so much, Odumosu. We'll come back to you later in the course of the conversation. Now let's move on to Malam Mele Kyari now, the Chief Executive Officer of Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited. Earlier suggestions were made, and some of them were implemented, some of them halfway, some of them fully, some of them never implemented. And this talking about, Engineer Uden's elaborate suggestion as to how we'll be able to tackle this menace. He talked about the issue of 1,000 barrels to be given out, and of course the 10% equity, and talking about engagements. And Malam Mele Kyari, I will look at what he said against the background of the innovativeness and the creativity of the Nigerian people, especially in the Niger Delta. How they are able to do this crudely, and how they are able to make ends meet, and of course make the Nigerian economy through that process. It seems as if the engagement issue and looking at this process will go a long way in addressing some of these issues. What do you think?
Yes, we have a comprehensive plan that looks end to end. First of all, we admit that there's criminality going on, and it's impossible for you to run pipelines with 200, 300 insertions. It's not possible to run any pipeline. You have to shut it down. It's simply not possible to operate it. Now, if you take out the criminal part of it, of course, government has put up a framework where people who want to conduct refining activity in a legal manner are supported. And that's why there are licenses given out for modular refineries. Such modular refineries can range from 1,000 barrels to up to 20,000 barrels per day. No one will prevent anyone from creating this. But mind you, refining is a science of its own. The cooking pots you are seeing, there are no refineries in any sense. There's simply no way you can convert this to a legal refinery. It is not practical, it is not possible. But modular refineries can be constructed. The government is there to support anyone doing it. NNPC has a framework of supporting anyone that wants to do a modular refinery. As a matter of fact, several licenses have been given up. Some have actually taken off, as small as 1,000 barrels per day refinery. And of course, when you have these people around the pipelines who are conducting this activity, to pull all of them down to in a situation where you allocate them 1,000 barrels, it's not something that can work. We have had several engagements. What is very good for us to do is to make it legal and make it in a framework that is supported by science, and also in a way that the activities will produce the value that is taken into the refinery. I'm not sure Uden means that, give out 1,000 barrels free to anyone that comes on the table. I'm not sure that is what he's suggesting. If you do this and you have 200 to 300 illegal refineries on the pipeline, you are simply not going to produce oil, and no company will produce oil in that respect. And that's why we're supporting a framework where the activities that is brought forward by distinguished Senator Thailand, and I'm very familiar with this, we have engaged severally. It is possible for people to construct a very legal modular refinery, and we'll support that process. And of course, it's one thing is also very clear, a political support is very necessary. As Uden has clearly pointed, and also Emeka, it is important for political leadership to support what we are doing now. And we're already getting very increased and valuable support in Imo State, Rivers State, even in Bayelsa State. and we have also engaged the Delta State government. The idea is to mobilize the communities for them to see the danger, for the state governments to help us with activities that are within their control, and ultimately we'll get the result that we desire. And of course, this is already showing up. For instance, in Rivers and Imo State, substantial amount of these activities have been degraded to a level where we can say that it is very, very possible to use political authority to contain all this. And of course, the issue around host communities, it's very clear that Mr. President thought out very clearly. Mind you, the host community provision in petroleum industry was the baby of Mr. President. He decided that it must be met in such a way that the communities are directly engaged and involved in the process of taking care of themselves, not what we do now. There are several other interventions that we're all aware as Nigerians, the 13% derivation, the Niger Delta Ministry, the amnesty program, and several other interventions aimed at making sure that help and support comes directly to the society, to the communities. The host community provision is another layer of support and intervention where community will see the value of the infrastructure in their community. They can decide what they want to do in the community. They can see development coming directly within their control into the community. And we believe that this will work. And I'm aware that already the commission, which has the responsibility of ensuring this works, is already putting up the regulation that will enable this to take off immediately. And I'm sure this will bring the community into the picture of what is going on in the community. Overall, there must be an end-to-end coordination and an activity that must see. I've had the gentleman from the Civil Defense, Rishola, saying number of arrests. It is very correct. Several arrests have been made by all the government security agents, from the Department of State Service to the police, to the Civil Defense Corps, the Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Army, and this is coordinated. This is happening concurrently. And because some of the arrests have not been brought to the public, but this will happen very soon. People will see the level of arrests as men, which cuts across every interest group. And I admit also that there's a number of collaboration and compromises that is taking place, from workers of the oil companies to the security agencies, and also members of the community down the ladder. So there are criminals everywhere, and of course the arrests that have been made for the civil defense gentleman has said includes everyone. Whoever has that infraction on the pipeline involved in this process will be arrested, and some are already arrested. So there's no distinction, there's no separation. There's absolute determination of the government security to flush out anyone in any system. And we think this will work, because so that we need to distinguish criminality from legitimate aspiration for economic value. And that economic value can only come on the table when there's a system, there's a process that is legal and that is legitimate, which is a part of the intervention that we're doing to make sure that the community members appreciate the challenge that is there. Also, the environmental degradation that is happening. By the way, not every member of the community is involved in it, not at all. As a matter of fact, it's a very, very slim and significant minority that are involved with this. We have engagement with the community. We know they are not happy. We know what is happening to their environment. It's almost an accidental situation that they are facing. And we are joining them to make sure that we rid them of the criminals that's in the communities, but at the same time also supporting them to make sure that their livelihood is restored in a manner that is legitimate. Otherwise, it is impossible to explain why you can have up to hundreds of illegal refineries along a pipeline. No one, no company will operate it. They will shut down. There's no amount of compensation that will make companies to say we'll come back and produce, so that you have 100 or 200 insertion on the line that is just 150 to 200 kilometers. It is impossible to continue to operate it. Pressure issues will come up, technology issues will come up, the line will not hold, and therefore we simply don't have, even on a technical ground, even on a compliance ground, that to shut it down. So that means that we have to read the lines of these illegal insertions, illegal activities of these criminals on the line, while we engage to ensure that we resolve issues around community challenges, around economic consideration that must happen necessarily, and also the application of all other means that government has already put in place to work. We believe that this will work. A much more comprehensive framework is put in place, and we think that doing this together jointly with the communities, the members of the community, with the state government, and also with the, probably if necessary, with the kinetic activities of the government security agencies, which is already showing up. As you may be aware, we have seen several arrests of vessels by the Nigerian Navy in the recent times. We think that in recent times, marine activities of criminals has actually subsided very, very dramatically. And I can't say it is zero, yes, but of course I'm very conscious of the fact today that those activities are winding down. And also even the illegal refineries, we are always going back to put back one of our lines on operation, because we have some level of confidence now that activities are really bringing out the results that we want. So it's a quite more comprehensive activity that is going on, and we believe that those conversations as we're doing now will promote the process of making sure we bring to a close.
Indeed, Malam Menekari, the conversation will continue, and our viewers out there, don't forget we have Emeka and Ene and Dennis Amaki from the US still going to contribute to this conversation, on how this conversation can continue so that the center itself can hold and Nigeria can make profit from its God-given oil. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
When times are tough, we know that as a mother, one thing you should never compromise on is your family's oral health, because they deserve the best. Oral-B, all-round protection. Great value. It protects your mouth from harmful bacteria and also protects you against tooth holes and gum problems which can lead to tooth loss. It strengthens your family's teeth and gives them all-round protection. So remember, protect their future. Oral-B for healthier, stronger teeth in just 1 week.
Are you aware that your perfect family may be under threat by germs? Germs can cause infectious disease. These infectious diseases are amongst the biggest killers of adults and children. Illness-causing germs are everywhere. In unclean bathing water, on your clothes, dirty surfaces, on cuts and wounds. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 capful. In your bathing water, for your laundry, for surface cleaning, for first aid, and to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Use Dettol Shore.
Every morning is an opportunity to take your hustle to the next level. Every morning is one day closer to your mission. So, make every morning count. Cup after cup, morning after morning. Start strong, finish strong. Nescafe. The ever-busy ancient city of Onitsha is a commercial hub with millions of commuters seamlessly linking other states daily for business, leisure, and other purposes. To upscale its road network, the construction of a 1.6-kilometer long second Niger bridge, including a 10.3-kilometer highway furnished with other infrastructure, has been in motion by the federal government. This project will ease congestion on the existing 56-year-old Onitsha Bridge and boost the economic capacity of the state as it easily connects to other parts of the country. The completion of the world-class second Niger Bridge Onitsha will be one of the many proud moments of the state, its people, Nigerians, and foreign investors. Onitsha, which hosts the largest market in Africa, is geared up to boast of an impressive road network. Once again, these moments are made alive by the federal government, and it is deserving of all the applause.
Trying our best to contain the situation, and in our operations, we've been able to make a lot of recoveries. We've been able to also arrest suspects that are involved in this kind of activities, and we've been able to also recover particularly arms and ammunition from those who are carrying it unlawfully and disturbing the peace of the people. But generally, our morale in the Nigerian police is always guided by our commitment to do what we have sworn to do. Peace and security must be looked into as a priority to look at security as the business of all of us.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message from the National Orientation Agency.
Welcome back, and this is still Good Morning Nigeria. Now let's join Emeka in the US, and is the Chairman Exploration and Production Coordination Committee. The transition from illegal refineries to modular refineries, do you think it will in any way reduce the loss of crude oil from the Nigerian side? Do you think it will affect or impact on our economy by making more money for Nigeria?
Yes, I think it's a very good initiative for a couple of reasons. We have to recognize that we have an infrastructure deficit in the country. We're talking about major gas pipelines to the north. We're talking about an east-west pipeline. We're actually building out our infrastructure. The idea of modular refineries shortens the time to market or distance to market for the oil that we produce. But one of the things that is often missed is the regional local impact of a modular refinery. So if you create the activity locally, the communities feel the impact more of the oil activity that's being generated. So think about it. You drill a well, and then you put it into an invisible pipeline in the ground, and you transport it hundreds of kilometers away, and that's the end of it. Nobody sees what is going on apart from observing a wellhead. Now, when you refine locally through a modular refinery, you're actually creating activity spillovers and economic spillovers that impacts the community. You know, there are a lot of people who tend to focus on oil as a commodity, but you forget that oil as a processed resource can multiply the economic value added by almost 50 times, depending on what you do, all the way to petrochemicals. So the modular refinery concept fits into our psyche very, very well, because, you know, in Nigeria, we talk about pay small, or that manage it like that. I better pass my neighbor. All of these things means that we think in a modular fashion. We think in practical ways in which we can make ends meet. The modular refinery allows you to process on site. And there are examples of modular refineries that have created value within the local communities. People get involved in the oil, petroleum products distribution business. People are employed, skills are developed, right? And we have to, don't forget that when we're focusing on only, illegal refining, you have to recognize that there are more than 250 distinct skills that you can acquire just in the process of either searching, storing, and transporting or processing oil. More than 250 skills that can be contained within the communities and translates into greater economic value added. So indeed, the strategy of encouraging modular refining, married with what I would call economic corridors, that is where you have industrial parks that have all related activity within the regional concept, will help a lot in deepening the value added amongst different communities. Because think about it, you have a young man who has left school or even didn't finish school because of the opportunities are limited, and then getting involved in illegal refining becomes the next opportunity to earn 100K, 200,000 naira, so on and so forth, right there in the community. If you have a modular refinery or a small petrochemical complex within that community, you are going to have a lot of people gainfully employed. You know, a small modular refinery will employ at least 50 to 100 people easily, and each of those people can support multiples of that economic activity. So I think it's a good concept. I think it's a concept that is a potential game changer, and it will impact the power business, impact the gas business. The same modular approach for expanding and filling the gaps we have in infrastructure.
Thank you so much. Let's move back to Iradwe and then get some more explanation, because I'm a little bit interested in the solutions you're providing, because here we're talking about tackling, oil theft in Nigeria. And let's get more elucidation on what you earlier preferred, and then see how practicable that can be. Mele Kyari really, explain some of them, and then we really want to hear more about that. When you talked about quest for survival as one of the reasons why these things happen, and we also talked about the involvement of the banks and in this whole business, one would think that there is not so much to do in the Niger Delta area or the oil producing area. I want to also think that the banks really want to have much more profit, good or bad, legal or illegal, from whatever source they want. And the question on the list of most Nigerians is that, can there be any other way of engagement apart from this?
Okay, I think that there's a confusion between modular refineries and artisan mining. I think that's where I need the GMD to really pay attention. Modular refinery business is expensive business. The minimum you can get is about $50 million. Our people will not play in that field. What I'm talking about is a situation where in the backyard of a woman in the community, she has constructed a drum and she can cook at least 3-4 buckets that she will sell that day to earn a living. I told you there's a quest for survival because there has been an abandonment of government and its responsibility, both at the state and the local government levels, to the people. I have navigated around the Niger Delta. I have seen the nakedness of neglect of the people by government institutions. Therefore, the people are in a quest for survival. They know some of these communities, 5 years down the lane, you see some of these boys involved, they have nervous breakdown. There is a serious conflict, health challenges that is affecting the people that others are seeing. But even in the same vein, people are getting involved. The number of people who died in Imo State, it's not everybody that died there went there to cook the product. The value chain. I've seen people who are involved in transportation, just like the last speaker said, people, middlemen who are doing business. Somebody spends 15 million naira. He will be able to get this their new improved refining pot, as they call it, with generator and electric burners. People are going to banks to collect money, and the banks know. They know what I'm saying. So I have said that there is a crisis that we are facing. Modular refinery is not the same thing as artisan mining. So what I have said is, look, the situation is bad. Let us gather our people in an industrial area, just like you said. I said this is where they are going to be doing it, in this cluster. 1,000 barrels per day. And then NNPC is directly involved in monitoring what they are doing. Those boys who are involved in those communities, they know themselves. They have associations. They have met with government. I told you twice in a Sheraton Hotel where everybody was involved. NNPC was there, the regulatory agencies. Let us not confuse ourselves and continue to say because the white man say there are standards like this, so if it's not like this, you can't do it. No. Look and watch CCTV, the Chinese channel. It shows you how from crude method, the Chinese developed their technology to the point where they are. One used to interest me, where they used to use mortars to pound bamboo and gradually migrated to producing paper. There is technology going on, local technology going on in the Niger Delta that can be harnessed to the advancement, to the advantage of the country. We are going to provide a lot of jobs and then save the environment. We talked about the environmental issues. I heard the NCDC man talking about it. Nigeria itself, NNPC have not invested enough resources in the fight against illegal refineries. Where are their dedicated tank farms? So that when these products are identified, they can take them to those tank farms and then sell them back to the economic purse. But go and see what happens. They destroy them on site, they burn down those places, and eventually add to the loss and also to the degradation of the environment. Because the NNP...
Mr. Rado, now when you talk about, are you with us here? When we talk about survival here, cry for survival, and the issue of, can you hear me, Mr. Rado? Yeah, when we talk about issue of survival here, when we talk about survival, we are referring to, people trying to make ends meet. And you earlier alluded to the fact that the governors, state governors, and local government chairmen, and other government subnationals, I must say, have not been doing very much and very well in this regard. We should not be, I think, be pointing fingers at the federal government or the NNPC in trying to champion some of this, given the money that is being pumped to the oil-producing states in the name of derivation and some other monies that come in there. We expect that such monies will be accounted for in these terms and then trying to meet certain needs of the community to reduce this kind of illegalities and criminalities.
Well, look, I told you when I started that Niger Delta is part of the entire basket of what has been going on over the years in Nigeria. So you don't expect that one area will now begin to be will be saints, let me put it that way. But the truth is that we have anti-graft agencies that ordinarily should be looking at some of these things. Look, there is a total disconnect amongst the entire institutions that should be working for the progress of the country. You can see that the NNPC is not sleeping. The federal government is doing its bit. The point is, what concern? How many meetings have we seen state governors hold with respect to this? When the resources, the environment are in states. When there are issues, states will say we are autonomous. Now there's a problem. We need them to be part of that. But let me further explain what I meant when I said it's a hydra-headed problem. If you go to the IOCs, some of the IOCs will give you a PO to supply AGO. If the AGO is sold at 800, they give you at 600. You will hire badges, you will hire trucks. Where are you going to get the shortfall? So even the contracting process of IOCs is encouraging the people to go for the illegally mined products and supply them. So for me, I think that it is time for us to look at it properly. There is a confusion between artisan mining and the issue of modular refining. So let us look at that demarcation and say, let's deal with the problem. Look, with at minimum as 5 million, 2-3 million, some people have set up their own.
This will, I believe, this will be an ongoing conversation. We've been having it almost every year on the theft of crude oil and its impact on the economy. Let's join Dennis Amakri now. In 20 seconds, the court is in the security, the ball is in the security court now. And as Engineer Rado is saying, they are also complicit in this issue.
Could you repeat that, please? I didn't get you very well.
What I'm saying is, according to Engineer Radri and some of the speakers here we have, the ball is in the court of the security agencies now, as they are said to be complicit in the issue itself.
You mean about security agents, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
it is another very serious issue because when the security agencies come down there, they are taken care of logistically by the IOCs. The international oil companies, take care of their logistics. And then, of course, some of them struggle to be posted there because some of them feel that, they are not really coming there to do exactly what is required of them. So they go into all kinds of situations, compromising themselves, and of course a lot of them have been arrested and then of course prosecuted. But we find out that, see, the root causes is really what we are supposed to address, the root causes. And of course, I'm happy the GMD is here now. You got to look at hydrocarbon accounting, which is another form of this theft going on. Serious one. Hydrocarbon accounting, where some of the IOCs are not they're not very honest about it, and we should look at that strongly. The pipelines are very old. They're very old. Some of them were pre-independence. So, you know, on their own, they burst. And when they burst, of course, they will spoil the environment. And when they spoil this environment, the natives or the communities...
If I might come in there, we've actually run out of time. This conversation will be ongoing, and time is just not enough to discuss the impact of oil theft on Nigeria's economy. Dennis Amakiri joined us from the US. He's a retired Assistant Director of Department of State Security, DSS, and a security consultant in the oil and gas sector. And we also had joining us via Zoom the Group Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC Limited, Malam Mene Kyari. Thank you so much for joining us. Also via Zoom from the US is the CEO of Oil Data Energy Group, Emeka Ene. He's also the Board of Trustees Chairman of the Society of Petroleum Engineers in Nigeria and Chairman, Exploration and Production Coordination Committee of the International Gas Union. And in the studio we have the Director of Public Relations of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. He's the Deputy Commandant Corps, Shola Odumosu. Thank you so much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. And pleasure. NSCDC will continue to justify our existence by...
And from Port Harcourt, we had Engineer Udengs Eradri, is the former President, Ijo Youth Council Worldwide, and former Commissioner for Youth and Eleta Environment in Bayelsa State. Thank you so much for your inputs. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Join us again tomorrow for another insightful edition of the program. I am Jumbo. Yes, sir.
All right, see you tomorrow again. I'm Yusuf Badabus. Bye-bye.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
I'm actually a passionate baker. I don't rest until everything is done.
When I entered university, anytime I'm broke, I'll make cupcakes and go and sell to the other students.
Decorating cake it's an artistic thing, and art is, dynamic.
Join us on Baker's World
every Thursday on the network service of the NTA. Baker's World, celebrating creativity. Don't miss it.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Welcome to Thoughts for the Week. And we're talking proverbs, wise sayings, allegories, you name them, things that help us to understand life better. And we use them to talk about things happening around us today. And most of the proverbs I get from here. I hope you know that already. Now, let's take a look at success. What is success? If you go through the thesaurus, for instance, you'll find some key words used to describe success. Achievements, triumph, wins, and so on. One of the major opposites of success will now be failure. That is a very, very strong word. A sage once said that the road to success is like a road under construction. Take a look at this road under construction. You can see that we have a lot on the road, signages, heavy-duty machines. You can see them, a lot of people working on the road. That's exactly what the sage has said the road to success is like. That means you have to work on this road, maneuver all the signs, all the heavy hurdles along the path to success. You have to learn to do that because our elders have said there are no shortcuts to the top of the palm tree. A wise one once said, to try and fail is not laziness. Did our elders not tell us that on the path of life, the path to success, that we'll meet different things? Failure being one of such things. Did they not say that we should try, that eventually we would succeed? They told us this, that what happens to you does not count as much as what you do about what happens to you. That means how you react to what is happening to you matters a lot. I was thoroughly pained recently when a young guy took his life because the music industry hadn't favored him as much as he had wanted it to. Why? Did he not hear the story of a particular man? I'll tell you the story of this man. This was a man who believed what the elders had to say, that nobody knows tomorrow. Tomorrow is pregnant and nobody knows what it will bear. I'm talking about Baba Fatai Rolling Dollar. After so many years of struggles, of watching the children in quote he had brought up in music explode while he was still struggling, he eventually did make it at age 75 plus. He died a legend. He lived a full life and he was hailed as a hero. Why? Because he overcame all the odds and eventually made it. So if you're young, you're vibrant, don't just give up because you think that things are not going your way. So just like Baba Fatai Rolling Dollar, I'd encourage you to be patient, because it is said that patience is the mother of a beautiful child. So be patient, because our elders have said, the vulture cannot feed
on a man who is alive. So keep the faith. Be alive.
Amenagawo elesomai.
So our thoughts for the week, it's more like a challenge again. Think about those little successes you've had. Celebrate them. Smile. And be grateful you still have life. Because with life, there is hope. Be determined to move on. Because our elders say, it is only the determined man who stoops to crack the hard shell of the palm nut that could eat the sweet kernel. So stay alive, my friend. The nuts may not be that difficult to crack after all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
To say to say that's all to thee. I'm born into an Egba, Ogun State, Abeokuta musical family, the Olumide family. It's the heartbeat, therefore, of all of us as the Olumide family. It's one that has revolved around music, and he was the first indigenous officer in charge of the naval dockyard, which was right next door to NTA in VI at Wilmot Point. And I grew up with bar beat shows. Uncle Atalade, when they were done with bar beat show, the recording on Saturday, they would move to our home and they would have the after events, after show. So I grew up with all of that. The celebration of jazz was also something my father was very much into. And many nights when he would come home from work, he would meet me curled up in his chair waiting for him, and the first thing I'd hear would be he'd have these big bass headphones just placed on my little head at the age of 7, and I'll just be hearing Nina Simone, Ella Fitzgerald, and so for me, jazz, music, all of these were part of my heritage. And so as Dio, I'm very musical.
Wanna take on. You know what? There is so much more than all. If you simply pay attention to more. Something's working in the sound. Something hurting you. Wow, jazz. Why did you choose jazz? And I tell them, hey, I didn't choose jazz. Jazz. So
jazz in Nigeria started from
when the people called Creoles, the Saros, people from Sierra Leone, after abolishment of slave trade, when they decided to come back to Nigeria, one thing they brought with them is jazz. And then today, jazz has given birth to a lot of other genres of music. So jazz was brought to us. And then one of the foundation of jazz in Nigeria is actually not even a Nigerian, it's E.T. Mensah of Ghana. He had a big band, and then many of our composers and artists, they followed that trend. So the first set of jazz composers are probably Bobby Benson.
You know they say, let me papa, it's too much. Let me we don't live on. If you must go,
He wrote a lot of big band jazz, and then they were all influenced by big band of Benny Goodman, and then many of them were influenced. And then Fela Ransom Kuti. He wasn't a Nicola Kuti then, it was Ransom Kuti. He started hosting a show on Radio Nigeria, a show on jazz music. But Fela was not someone who you would tie down to just a jazz show. He wanted more. He wanted to do more than just hosting jazz music. So he started the first basic, unique jazz band, which is called Fela Ransom Kuti and the Jazz Quintet.
If you call a woman Africa woman, she no go green. She go say I be lady. Fela in singing that brought us to our own place of recognizing our true identity.
In the early years, what we had was people trying to sound like the American jazz progenitors. People were trying to sound like the big bands, New Orleans jazz and all this. But at a certain period, the issue of identity came in. There is no way you play music and then the audience wants to receive it also as a say. We are Africans, we are Nigerians, and then we needed to, I think Fela did a lot of work in this aspect. At the time when Fela's revival started, everything changed. So although he was still playing jazz, but then he started playing highlife jazz, and it brought a lot of African elements into it. So all the artists and composers took a clue from Fela's music, and then we started doing African things. We started putting African idioms, African culture into jazz. And so the jazz you listen to in this part of the world is actually different from what you will listen to in America or anywhere else, because our culture is now mixed with our kind of jazz. The likes of Yinka Davies, Ego, Mike Aremu, and then Lagbaja, they are unique. They produce unique sounds. It's a lot of African elements in their jazz music.
I didn't set out to be a singer.
I wanted to be an actor, a fine artist, an agriculturist. So singing the back burner. But I started acting, building my craft from 16, 17. My first impression was first at 77. Made a strong impression, but I still didn't get it until one fine day I found out that the singers outside the country gave expression to words. Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, and Billie Holiday. They painted a picture for me. Just close your eyes and you can see everything they're singing about.
I'm looking for something soothing. I mean, that's what jazz does, you know. It relaxes you, it serenades you. So you have to have a beautiful time. And of course, with 2020, and now we're here. I mean, it's something to be thankful for. And why not jazz it up?
I love talking about life and the beauty that we create every day when we go out, when we come in. When we greet our fathers and mothers on the streets. Culture, cultural exchange. Really and truly, it's all about us as a people. Our communal living. I miss it.
Wow. Splendid.
Wow. It was amazing. I think jazz is spiritual. It can just connect with you, right? And when it's Yinka Davis, it takes you somewhere else. She's just an enigma, really.
There's something that speaks to you when you listen to jazz. And with jazz in Nigeria coming from the 60s till date, I think we have come a long way. And this was exceptional this evening.
Every soul alive, every human being alive is unique. You can want to sound like somebody else. I want to sound like Ella Fitzgerald, and yet I sound like me. So the best thing you can do is to give yourself.